The dish I'm cooking today is all about simplicity and the simple approach that I use when it comes to food. In front of me here are my ingredients for today's dish. I want to use the word basic ingredients, but some of them you might not have used before. Simple dish of, I've got a couple of lovely duck legs here. We're going to make a stock, but not the traditional stock that we might be used to in a pan. The ingredients for the stock, again, some of them could be store cupboard ingredients, but this might be a first for some. And noodles. So it's basically duck, noodles, sauce. Here for the stock, I've got some lovely porcini mushrooms. I've got some dried nori sheets, sliced ginger, some smoked anchovies, a bit of lemongrass, and the bulb from the roasted garlic. It's just literally the bulb. There's no garlic in there, but I'm just going to use that for flavour. This is it is Japanese. It's a dashi broth we're going to make with some of the components or some of the known components of a dashi broth. Now, a dashi broth is a broth made usually with 3 or 4 ingredients, usually kombu, which is seaweed, shiitake mushrooms, but I've got porcini mushrooms. A dried mushroom of any sort really would work well in this. Usually katsuobushi, which is smoked bonito fish and dried, and it's like a bit of wood, and they shave that into it and gives this lovely flavour to our stock. But I'm substituting that with some smoked anchovies. The lemongrass and ginger I'm adding myself. It's not written in stone that them few ingredients are the only ingredients you can add. I'm making this up as we go along, and I know, and these flavours I've tried before and I know they work, and I enjoy the flavours in this. Other components to the broth are going to be some sesame, some fish sauce, some soy sauce, and this wonderful ingredient here, the liquid seasoning. Now, if you're not overly fussed about MSG, then it really just lifts the flavour profiles of any dish. I'm not going to go on about MSG just now. Google it if you so wish, and it'll give you it'll tell you about Chinese restaurant syndrome and all this kind of stuff, and you believe what you want to believe, but I think it's a lovely way of just lifting the flavours of any dish. Right, to begin with, I'm going to take my duck breasts, a little bit of oil in there, just using a rapeseed oil. We just want to season really well with salt and pepper. I'm going to take a knife, I'm just going to lightly stab the skin to get as much oil out of that as possible. And get that salt and pepper working into the duck legs as well. I chose duck legs because there's more flavour in it. It'll be juicier. You could use breast if you want, but breast just seems very, very convenient. And when these go into the dish, it's the kind of thing you can like pull yourself with a fork and knife, and it's just going to be really delicious. So into a pan, I've got the oven set at 180 degrees, and that's going to take about an hour and a half in the oven. So we're going to get that in right away and get on with our stock. Now, while the duck's coming up to the last 15 minutes of cooking, we're going to get on with our stock. Now, I talked earlier about how we traditionally make a stock with either simmering our ingredients in a pan, or if you want stock cubes, etc, etc. Today, we're going to make our stock in a cafetière. It's the simplest way of getting as much flavour into a stock as possible, no hassle, and we'll have it ready in 10 minutes. Bearing in mind, if you do use a cafetière for such things, keep it for making stocks or sauces. Don't try and make coffee in it, it'll just be horrendous. So, we shall add our ingredients to our cafetière. Now, the nori sheets, it's got a lovely seaweedy, well, obviously smell to them, and that's going to impart our sort of umami flavour to our stock. Now, umami just is another level of taste. To that, I'm going to add our porcini mushrooms. Again, any good quality dried mushrooms will do. The skin from the roasted garlic, it's just the skin flavour. That's all I'm after, the flavour of the roasted garlic. Bearing in mind the roasting of the garlic takes out the sweetness and just tones it down a little bit. In with our lemongrass, our smoked anchovies, and our thinly sliced fresh root ginger. Again, quantities, it's up to you. If you didn't like one of the ingredients, you can leave it out. By all means, I'd urge you to have fun and play around with different ingredients and to see what flavours you can get. And I think you'll be surprised at what we can get out of this. Kettle of boiling water, simply pour it over. Just to our level. And we want to just let that seep for 10 minutes before we plunge. So while that is infusing, we'll just talk briefly about our noodles. The noodles I'm using today are wheat noodles. Take time to research noodles. Don't grab the first pack of noodles you see. There's so many varieties out there that are really good, like buckwheat noodles, and my mind fails me just now, but honestly, just spend some time trying to find a really good quality noodle, especially when we're doing such a nice dish like this. Behind me, I've got a pan of boiling water, salted water, nice and simple. So we're going to get that in to our water just now while our stock is infusing. So to cook the noodles, nice large pot, lots of boiling salted water. We want the noodles to flow in the water freely instead of in a small pan where they can clump together. So we just want to move them until they become nice and loose and give them the required cooking time. So now we've got everything coming together. The stock's had a good 10 minutes in the cafetière, the duck's well rested, and the noodles are just come off the boil. Let's have a wee nosy at our stock. I'm just going to taste it before I plunge to give me an idea of where we are. Yeah, we're getting everything. I'm getting all the flavours from the mushroom, the nori, the ginger, the lemongrass. I just need to lift it. So with that, I'm going to add probably a good couple of tablespoons of soy sauce. A good couple of tablespoons of fish sauce. And to elevate the flavour, some of my favourite liquid seasoning. There we go. I've done a couple of varieties with this, where I've even had some longestine tails, just the shells with a bit of fennel in there, some onion, plunge, lovely aromatics in there. One final taste. Yeah, that's good. You can see the clarity of that stock as well. How clear it is. Absolutely stunning. Okay, plating up. I've just prepared some further aromatics. Coriander. These are optional. It almost gives it that sort of ramen feel to it. And some fresh spring onion. Put the plate up. We'll just take our lovely noodles. I'll make a nice bed there. We'll take our duck and see, lovely crisp skin. It's rendered right down. And we just sit that nicely, just leaning on the noodles. And we'll now take our broth with minimum mess. Beautiful. And we'll finish with our aromatics. Good bit of chilli on there. Again, it's up to use heat wise. Our coriander, our spring onions, and we'll just finish that now with, again, another optional extra, and again it's one of my favourite store cupboard ingredients, toasted sesame oil. We don't want to go mad with that. A little really does go a long way. So here we have my crispy roasted duck with noodles and tasty broth. Such a simple dish with lots of flavour. Another point I was going to make is, what we've got here on the bottom, nothing gets wasted. So if you wanted to, just remove that garlic skin, and you could actually add that to the noodles itself for more flavour, or reserved for another time where you could add that to steamed rice, and that just elevates the rice flavour even more. Or you could chop it up really finely into a low oven, bake it off to a thin crisp, and you've got some lovely tasty crisps at hand for a snack. Give it a whirl, get yourself a cafetière, and let's get stokes back on the on everyone's cards. Enjoy.